Hello friends and welcome to another video. I just got a question and I felt like I wanted to answer in the form of a video instead of just answering in the comment section. So the question goes as follows. How do you feel about sync licensing? Have you done this before? This is a great question actually. I'm glad that you brought this up. Now there is a conversation in the music licensing world about sync licensing versus stock music licensing or royalty-free libraries for that matter. In fact, I just done a video quite recently about something that I found on Instagram talking about this topic. The thing with music licensing is that a lot of people out there in the music licensing niche or industry are talking about how terrible royalty-free libraries are and how you should only do sync licensing. And I understand it from where they're coming from, and I'm going to try to keep this video in the music licensing niche, but I can't help but talk about marketing. Okay, in fact, this topic will be great for my other YouTube channel where I'm talking about marketing and how to build a brand and how to build an online business by sharing what you know. Okay, and if you're curious, you can go and check that video that I've done in that channel because I'm talking about marketing and how I built my own brand, selling my knowledge with courses. Now, other friends that happen to be in the industry are doing exactly the same thing. We are in the business of sharing what we do and what we know. And in this case, it's music licensing. So I understand that somebody that is in the music licensing industry but does not talk about royalty-free libraries or stock libraries wants to demonize this aspect of music licensing. I completely get it because it's a marketing thing. And we can see this in different industries, by the way. If it's nutrition, you either are a vegan or you're either a carnivore diet that you follow or a keto diet. Usually it's polarizing content that we see online. And I'm sure you can sympathize with this at many levels. So when I am in the music licensing industry or niche, if you will, I decided to go earlier on with royalty-free libraries and stock music libraries because to me, it was the easiest way to get started in music licensing. When I came across different content creators talking about music licensing and sync libraries, I followed a path and, I learned so much. And on the other hand, I met composers who are actually doing sync licensing and stock libraries at the same time, royalty-free libraries. So composers are out there doing everything. Now, to answer to your question, how do I feel about sync licensing? I feel the same way I feel about stock libraries. It's music licensing. Okay. Now, my channel is focused primarily on stock music licensing. The reasons why is because it's by far the easiest way to get started in music licensing, hands down. All right. I am involved with sync libraries. There's plenty of people out there talking about sync licensing. Okay, and the marketing behind this idea that you shouldn't be involved with royalty-free libraries because there is no money, that's the main argument, that there's no money. And you should only be aiming for working with sync libraries so you can get an upfront sync fee or earn money through your PROs or performing royalties. That's part of music licensing. Okay, and I have certainly done it. In fact, I'm working with a new sync library as we speak that I have just recently joined. And it's a completely different ballgame when it comes down to how you make the music, even though it's the same music, by the way. It just happens to be exclusive. So the same music that I have on royalty-free libraries is still my music to the highest level. And I just happen to sell my music, which is my composition, which is, again, of the highest level to a sync library, to an exclusive library. And, I get the briefs, and they ask for music, and I compose music within certain parameters in the hopes that I can get a placement. And I enjoy that, I like that, but it's different, right? If there's no briefs, then I'm not submitting music to that particular sync library. So it's a different thing. For me, stock music licensing it represents freedom. At the same time, I earn money as a composer. And no, I'm not working with a brief. I just compose whatever music I want at any given time. In fact, I'm working on a new piece of music. But the more I'm active with my new music composition, the more I can get some sync licensing deals. and hear me out, because this is what other sync licensing gurus are not telling you. All right. A few years ago, I got reached out by a library who happens to be a sync library, that they said that they heard my music on Audio Jungle. And I was not the only composer, by the way, that they reached out. How do I know this? Because, well, I create content around the music licensing industry, so I know a lot of composers. So a sync library reached out to me a few years ago and said, we've heard your music on Audio Jungle, and we were wondering if you would like to compose some exclusive music for us. Of course, why not? I don't see why not. I got a deal with them, and I joined them as one of their composers. I composed, I believe it was 10 or 12 tracks in a particular style. Obviously, the tracks that they found on Audio Jungle is something that resonated with them, and they wanted something similar to that. They had no problem whatsoever that my music was on Audio Jungle, by the way. So a lot of music licensing gurus out there are saying that you shouldn't have your music on Audio Jungle or Pond5 or other stock libraries because it's perceived of something that is of a lower quality. The thing that you're not being told, and this is where all this misinformation comes from, is that there are people that they're looking for music in royalty-free libraries. I mean, I got another story, which happened quite recently, by the way. And it's how I got the deal as well with the music library that I'm just currently working with. A friend of mine, who is by far one of the best composers that I know in this space, in music licensing, and is somebody of trust that I met through the internet, through the power of making content over the years. I trust him so much. He's probably my best friend when it comes down to this industry and music licensing, and we keep in touch on a regular basis, talking about libraries, talking about sales, talking about rejections, talking about all things music licensing. And he does this full time, and he's a creative person. So he emailed me once, or he sent me a message actually on Messenger. He said, listen, I just got a brief from this library, from this sync library that I'm working on, and they are using 3 tracks as a reference for this particular brief. And one of your tracks is in that reference as an example for this particular brief. And I was just blown away. I'm like, that's amazing, right? For many reasons. First of all, because this track is on a stock library. So that track is on Motion Array. Okay, that's number one. Motion Array is a subscription library, which a lot of music licensing gurus are completely against. And they're going to talk terrible about this. And, are subscription libraries good or bad? I've done many videos about this topic, and I'm not going to dive too deeper into that. But the truth of the matter is that these people are looking for music, and they're going to stock libraries like Motion Array, and they're looking for music tracks as a reference, so they can send that reference to the composers who are involved with that sync library. So they can say, hey, we're looking for this particular TV show. Okay, here's the brief, and here are 3 examples of the type of music that we want and that we need. One of those tracks happened to be mine in a stock library. Out of 3 tracks, okay, one of them is mine. The second funny thing is that this track was in a genre that I don't usually compose music in, okay? It's a dark cinematic track. Something completely left field for me. I don't do this type of music, ever, because I focus on happy, inspirational music. And I thought to myself, isn't that funny that there's people they're looking for music on stock libraries, okay? And people that are obviously involved with TV shows, A&R people, sync libraries, and they're fishing for different music across stock libraries, like Motion Array, for that matter. My friend contacted me, and he kindly, offered me to get in touch with this sync library. He said, this is a sync library that I'm working with. This is the brief that I got. You should definitely reach out to them. I had no intention of reaching out to them up until that point. for whatever the reasons, right? I was too busy. I'd never consider it. And, I think it's a fun fact. So I reached out to the person and I said, hey, I just got this email from one of your composers who happens to be a friend of mine. And I noticed that you're using one of my tracks. I'll be happy for you to have it, or I can compose another handful of these tracks. The next thing you know, I became one of the composers in that particular sync library. All thanks to the fact that I am already active selling music on stock libraries. In the meantime, I'm already making money with stock libraries. I'm involved as a composer. I'm being proactive, and I do everything. I do stock libraries, subscription libraries, royalty-free libraries, and yes, I do sync libraries as well. In fact, I joined BMI back in the day before I even joined a stock library. I am so old in this game of stock library that I joined Audio Jungle back in the day when it was a little bit of a mystery if it was okay to be affiliated with a BMI or with a PRO for that matter. Back in the day, it was still unknown, like if you should, reveal this information. Nowadays, it's quite common for royalty-free libraries to accept composers that are affiliated with a PRO for many reasons. I'm not going to get into it right now, which is, again, another misinformation that is out there, that you cannot, earn performance royalties with selling your music with stock libraries and whatnot. But that's a topic for a different video. So my thoughts and how I feel about it is that you should definitely go for it. You should definitely see that as an opportunity to do music licensing, because at the end of the day, sync libraries, stock libraries, subscription libraries, whatever libraries you are talking about, it's still production music, it's library music, it's all music licensing. It's all the same thing. It's just different ways of earning money. For me, I focus on stock libraries because I want to be the person helping newcomers or even experienced composers to monetize their music with stock libraries. However, when I'm coaching people, one-on-one by the way, they all want to get into stock libraries, but most importantly, they want to learn how to get into sync libraries and how can they approach this game, because it's a little bit different, right? It's not as easy as opening an account and then submit some music and off you go. You already have to have certain things in place, and that's why stock libraries is so important, because if you can't compose music that is accepted by a stock library like Motion Array or Audio Jungle and various other libraries, then it's going to be very hard for you to get into sync libraries. If you don't have practice with the edits that I've mentioned here, and I've done videos about this, it's going to be very hard when you get the email and from a sync library, they say, I need a cut down version of this, I need a 30-second edit, 15-second edit, and all of the rest. And for me, being a stock music composer is the best way to get practice and earn money, of course. The whole purpose of this channel is to make money with stock music. But, this channel could have been just called music licensing, right? That's it. But for me, stock music licensing is a little bit more niche down. And again, I'm going down the rabbit hole of marketing. And this is not a conversation for this channel, but I'm positioning myself in the marketplace of all the other music licensing gurus, if you will. But one thing that I will not talk on this channel is obviously bad about sync libraries, because there's nothing bad to say about this. The only times when I draw the line or voice my opinions about this is when I have seen content out there from other people talking either bad about the fact that stock music licensing is something that you cannot earn money with, or there's no money in it. And obviously this is coming from people, again, that they're not involved with stock libraries, all right? And yes, there's people out there that are talking in a negative way because, again, it's a marketing tactic. You need to polarize the people, right? If I was in the industry of fitness and well-being or whatever, I will have to, in a way, I guess, polarize one way or another and say, well, you shouldn't eat meat, you should eat only veg, or you should only do keto diet, or you should only do that. The reality is that it's not about that, because everybody's body is different and everybody will will need to diet accordingly to their own needs and what they want to accomplish. And I know this is like an off topic, but I'm just trying to be relatable here into how this applies to different industry. And again, this is a conversation for my other channel. This is something that you're not concerned with here, because here is just about music licensing. Composers who are in music licensing are definitely doing Pond5, and they're doing sync licensing deals at the same time. There's more composers doing that than what you think. And that's why I believe that if you're new to this industry, starting with royalty-free libraries is by far the best way to get started. Okay? Because composers have a lot of insecurities, musicians have a lot of doubts, they're very skeptic. So it's very easy to have this idea that, you know, why sell a track for $5 when you can get a big deal with a sync library? You know, so why aim so low? Why devalue your music? You know, I've been there. When I got started, I was in that mindset as well. But in the meantime, I wanted to really be proactive about this, and I wanted to really put my music out there. And not 10 tracks. I can't. 10 tracks is nothing, and it's not about quality over quantity. You cannot get to the quantity. You cannot get to the quality without the quantity. So for me, it was essential to get a lot of practice in the industry, and most importantly, compose a lot of music, dealing with rejection, dealing with nothing happening as well. This is part of music licensing. It's very common to just join different libraries and have nothing happen. You know, so if you just want to get some quick results, then maybe music licensing is not for you. And when I use music licensing as a term, I'm talking about sync licensing and royalty-free libraries. But in sync licensing, it's even more difficult, this aspect of dealing with, like, hey, nothing has happened, right? It happens in royalty-free libraries as well. You join a library and then you upload, 500 tracks, and you have only one sale after 2-3 years. I mean, this is not uncommon. That's why you need to try with different libraries. So in sync libraries, it's the same thing. You might have an exclusive deal, and you might have composed 2 or 3 albums, and then you probably got one placement. You realize that that placement didn't earn you much, or maybe it did. Maybe it earned something, but then nothing else happened. And you have 2 or 3 albums of exclusive music that is locked there, and you can't really take it out. And exclusivity is another topic for another video, actually, because, I've seen composers involved with exclusive libraries, and I've seen the same track in another library. Go figure. But I do believe that if you're a composer and you want to do music licensing, you should definitely approach everything, You should definitely do everything. I don't see why you should be against Pond5 or you should be against stock music licensing if you're a composer, because at the end of the day, you're just leaving money on the table. That's the reality of it. I just sold another track that I composed almost 10 years ago. I'm going to do a video about that track, actually, because it's pretty crap. But it's out there, and it's in a stock library, and it's not life-changing money, obviously, but it represents something, right? It represents my work, it represents what I've done, and obviously for me as a content creator and somebody who's educating other composers, it's a great source of material to say, like, this is what I did almost 10 years ago. I'm still making sales today, and in conjunction with other licenses, which happen to be quite big. Like I've got some broadcast and TV and film license in a stock library. So I do feel that, I feel for composers really, because when I got this question, I do feel, because it's a clear example of maybe some people expect me to say something negative about sync licensing, or maybe people think that I am not involved with sync licensing either, like I will never pursue this as well. And because this channel is called Stock Music Licensing, right? So they assume that I just sell my music on Audio Jungle and that's that, and I don't do anything else. I try to stay really laser focused on my content because it's Stock Music Licensing and I want to help newcomers into the business, but even experienced composers, because I have experienced composers who are with sync libraries as well. They haven't earned anything, okay? And they come down to another level thinking like, well, I might as well just reach out to Daniel, right? And see what I can do because I haven't gotten anything with this sync licensing path. So maybe I should, maybe I should try some other libraries, AKA royalty-free libraries, and the libraries that are telling me not to join because there's no real money in it, or there's no real success in it. Okay? I have plenty of people like that, man. So, and I have, customers and clients and people that I have coached, they will tell you the same thing. Whenever we're coaching and we're behind closed doors, it's not a video like this that is out there in the public. It's my job to get their music where it needs to be, their mindset as well where it needs to be in terms of their abilities, and their music is so amazing that there's no reason why they shouldn't pursue music licensing as a career path or even something on the side. But the level of intimidation is quite high. And for a reason, because it seems like this black magic or this secret society group that only have access to this, sync libraries that are up here. And it seems so unattainable, or at least that's the way it's being projected, in my opinion. And judging by the way I'm coaching, which is the opposite, it's like the best way to start in music licensing is to actually join a library right now. Like join Motion Array, Pond 5. And if you want to know about the libraries, download my free guide. Link in the description. So join different libraries, go through the whole process of composition, getting familiarized with description, metadata, tagging, music production, mixing, mastering your own music. Get practice with volume. I'm not talking about volumes about being loud, but volume of how much music can you make, how fast, how quick, because in music licensing it's usually very quick. Sync libraries are like that as well. I mean, for example, the briefs that I get, there's usually a deadline. They usually say like, hey, we need this by then. So you must be able to compose fast. And if you have other things going on in your life, which I assume you have, because nobody is just sitting here waiting for an email from a sync library in order for you to start composing. I mean, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not here waiting for various sync libraries so they can send me some emails, or me cold calling them and say, do you need any music? Because I'm broke, right? I'm being proactive, and that's my philosophy, and that's what I tell people to do. If you want to be in music licensing, you need to be proactive, and you need to be composing a lot of music yesterday, not today, yesterday. I get so many emails about this, about, hey, I'm doing music and I haven't gotten anything yet. And then the next question is how many music tracks you have out there. Some people are very successful with just a couple of tracks. Some other people need hundreds of tracks in order to see something happening. There is no formula that fits everybody. However, you can always work on your craft. You can always compose music. You can always get better. And as you are pursuing your goals and dreams as a composer, then, the most important thing, in my opinion, is for you to monetize your music. And there's no better way than doing that with stock libraries. And be proactive, because nobody's stopping you right now from uploading a few tracks. I mean, the libraries nowadays, they usually have like a limit of uploads, but on Audio Jungle, it's like 30 tracks in 1 month, depending on the review process that you have gone through. Meaning that if you have had a lot of rejections on Audio Jungle, then your upload limit will be affected. For me, I don't get rejected on Audio Jungle. I do get rejected by other libraries, funny enough, but that's just the nature of the business. I mean, Motion Array, they have brought that down to 10 tracks at any given time, to have 10 tracks in the queue. Some of the libraries have 20 tracks at any given time. I mean, 20 tracks is quite a lot of tracks, really, if you ask me. But you must be able to compose this type of music really fast and be really efficient with your time. And I know a lot of composers struggle with this. So if you can get practice in the real world, not making music here for you, okay, but making music and uploading it and letting it go, which is like my whole MO, right? Compose, upload, let go. That's it. And that applies to you if you work as a composer for media, full stop. Obviously, with sync libraries, it's a little bit different because you cannot just keep on submitting music, right? You work with a brief or you compose an album, and then, yeah, you could be involved with different sync libraries, but again, it's different in that sense. And that's why a lot of music licensing gurus will tell you, don't be too pushy, don't reach out like this, don't send them a downloadable track, send them a link, make sure that you are polite, make sure that you are persistent but not pushy, and all of this, right? With stock libraries, there's nothing like that. You just join and you upload. You have a certain amount of tracks that you can upload, and that's your limit. Upload them, and then let's see what happens. See how you deal with rejection. See how you deal with nothing happening. Okay? And get used to that. And see if you have what it takes to compose music and persevere. And most importantly, work on your craft, because music licensing is about working on our craft and being better as a composer and eventually being in the music business, because music licensing is part of the music business, and we're here to make money with our music. And I really focus on that, and I try to share as much as possible my income with stock libraries. And really talk about that. But again, this channel could have been called just music licensing, and I could be talking here about sync libraries and stock libraries and anything in between. Who knows? Maybe I should do that, right? Crush the competition, but I do sync licensing. I just don't talk about it here on the channel, right? I don't talk about music supervisors. I don't talk about different things as a musician and composer, like streaming your music on Spotify or different streaming platforms. I don't talk about being a musician or an artist either, right? I don't talk about gigging or touring or being a session musician or different ways of monetizing your music. I'm trying to stay very focused on my content and my teachings. And that's just because I want to be that person. I want to be that person that is the person who is showing how simple it actually is, and it's not that complicated. The same goes with like any industry, my friend. I mean, I think it's just the overwhelm of information that is out there nowadays. Wherever you go, I mean, you have to have a little bit of detachment sometimes and have enough common sense, but common sense is not that common. Okay, so again, if we're going to the nutrition and dieting industry, it's not about what's the best diet, and it's not about going from one extreme or the other. It's about just having enough common sense and having a well-balanced diet. But again, it's very personal. I know it's a different industry altogether, but it's not rocket science, and it's not that one is better than the other. You're still in a health and wellness industry or niche or path, right? What works for me might not work for you, right? But it's a different approach, I guess, and I guess I'm going into a different tangent, and maybe it's not relatable to music licensing, but I do feel for new composers. But nowadays there's so much information, at least more than it was back when I got started, and there's more libraries as well. And now you can just be proactive. I mean, that's the main goal here, to be proactive and earn money while we're doing this, okay? The argument, again, that you cannot earn any money with stock libraries is something that I really want to get rid of, that myth. And that's why I show my income with a few libraries and try to really show what's possible. And that has been my marketing campaign since day one. How can you earn between $500 and $1,000 per month selling your music on Stock Library. That's very tangible, very, very tangible, and very real, okay? It's something that I wanted to really focus on because when I got started in terms of income, I wanted to earn $300 per month. That was a small goal. I said, like, well, maybe I can earn $300 one time, right? Like maybe I get a deal somewhere and it's a license. But can I replicate this income every single month? That was the real challenge for me. It was a very small goal. But I wanted to document that process and share it here on YouTube and say, like, well, maybe I'm sure there's people out there that they'll be happy with an extra $500 or $1,000 per month doing music from home, right? With Stock Libraries, man, you know, like you just have to put in the work, have to just do what you have to do and be proactive about it. So that has been my position in the music licensing niche. And obviously, you have sync gurus that say that that's not enough because you can easily make 60 grand with an upfront sync fee or whatever, which is true. But at the end of the day, you know, what are you doing in the meantime, right? I'm still looking for those deals as well, but they don't come every day, right? They don't happen all the time. You see what I mean? So do I wait for something to happen like that? Like, should I wait for something big? No. And most of my friends, and my friend, which is my best friend when it comes down to music licensing, is doing exactly that. He's a true example of this. That's why we're so close in the music licensing space. Is because of that. It's because we're doing everything, man. You know, and we're being proactive. It's not about one or the other. If one library, in fact, is not accepting our music, we just said, well, screw you, man. I'm not going to submit music to you. I'm going to go this way. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's a royalty-free library or a sync library, you know. Because, like I say to you, you can have music in a sync library and still be sitting there collecting dust, doing nothing. And you can share as much as you want on Facebook that you're part of this library, but the reality is, how much money have you earned with that music? Okay. So I'm in the job of making money with music, and music to me is a product. And even though Stock Libraries have this negative energy attached to it that a lot of composers don't want to be part of, I'm happy to just be the guy talking about stock music licensing and say there's nothing wrong with it. You know, this is what I earn. You know, if you want to jump in, jump in. If you don't. You know, go do something else. I don't know. It's no problem, right? I'm sure you'll find your path in the music licensing industry. But for me, it's very clear that I started to see quick results earning money with Stock Libraries. And it's my job to just leave the door behind open for others to just follow that path, if that's what they want to. You know, some people agree with my message, some people don't. It's fine. It's part of life. I can't appeal to everybody. But the truth of the matter is that Stock Libraries are still around, and they will be around because, you know, it's a way of licensing your music. Okay, there's a lot of content creators out there that need music, and they go to Stock Libraries to just download that music through a subscription plan or just buy it a one-off. The same goes with TV shows and broadcasts and films, and you know, I mean, it's so much creation out there, man. You just have no idea. So one thing is to work with the networks, okay, with different libraries and sync libraries, and another thing is to work with Stock Libraries in order to provide music to content creators. And you know, have music out there online, so you can monetize your music, you know, and just really grow as a person and as a composer as well, really. Because at the end of the day, if you're not being proactive in the real world, then you're still just here in your home doing music, but you haven't really put yourself to the test, so to speak. Anyways, this is a longer video than I expected, but you know, I might talk more about sync licensing here. I don't know. I should just stay in my lane. But one thing that you're not going to hear about in this channel is that I will never polarize my audience and say that's wrong, because there's nothing wrong with it. But why you're not doing this? That's my question. Why you're just doing that? And for others that are out there talking bad about music licensing and royalty-free libraries, specifically in stock libraries, my question is that why are you talking about something that you have no clue about, because you're not involved with them? I know the answer, but why are you talking so bad about it if you do not do something? If you don't have your music on Audio Jungle or Pond5 or Motion Array or Artlist for that matter, you shouldn't be talking about it. Why would you talk about something that you're not involved with? But because you spoke to somebody that is involved with it? So everybody has an opinion, right? I try to document my journey and try to document everything that I'm doing as we speak, including these videos. I share my latest license. I share you have heard my music, by the way. There's a lot of music licensing gurus out there, but you can't hear their music. Where is the music? I want to hear it. I get a lot of people asking me, where can I hear your music? I don't shy away from it. And not only I show you where my music is, but at the same time, I want to show you behind the scenes what I'm doing right now. Not 5 years ago, not my biggest hit, what I'm working right now. And I show you my worst work as well. I show you the tracks that they're crap, but they're still out there selling. So I want to be as transparent as possible in that sense and say, hey, I'm just like you. I'm just, doing this thing like this. And that's my philosophy when it comes down to music licensing. And the misinformation is real. The overwhelm is real. And it's just about keeping it simple, keeping it real. Just, follow what works for you. And always work on your craft. Compose, upload, and let go. The let go part is really hard for a lot of people. But the 3 steps are really, really hard as well. Because I've been there. And I'm doing this on a day-to-day basis anyways, in conjunction with other things, by the way, like doing YouTube videos. Anyways, this is a longer video than I expected, like I said. Thank you so much for the love and support. I'll see you in another video, my friend.